Hi all, this is Simona Rich. In this video, I'm going to read out another set of Nisargadatta Maharaj quotes. Let's see where we left. I think it's here. Why don't you create your own environment? The world has only as much power over you as you give it. Rebel. Go beyond duality. So probably here the student of Nisargadatta Maharaj or the devotee complained about the world, maybe that he's experiencing difficulties, and he's advising to not care about where you are, but just realize your own power. You're stronger than the environment, therefore you can change it. Yet at the same time, he also holds the opinion that everything is set, and the same applies to the Ramana Maharishi, another enlightened person. He would say that you cannot change. Things are already destined for you, and the only thing that you can do is you can control your reaction, how you want to react to those things. Yet he also says that you can change that. So I think that it could be that it was meant for that person to hear this empowering message, and then that person can get in charge of his life in this way. I have some headache today because I was for a long time online searching for the birth time of Sushant Singh, who recently died, and I wanted to see if he committed suicide or it was planned murder, as many people think, but I can't find his birth time. I wish I could. So I was also looking at his pictures and his interviews to determine the time, but I still have doubts. If anyone has some information about his birth time, the hour of birth, then please let me know. But I have slight headache because I was online for so long searching for all this information. Another quote, and I'm here highlighted: the world has only as much power over you as you give it. And it's true that if you refuse to accept the things that the world offers, but you want something else, and you just refuse and you stand your ground, usually you get what you want eventually. Fearlessness comes by itself when you see that there is nothing to be afraid of. When you walk in a crowded street, you just bypass people. Some you see, some you just glance at, but you do not stop. It's the stopping that creates the bottleneck. Keep moving, disregard names and shapes. Don't be attached to them. Attachment is your bondage. There is a huge bug here. I wish I could show that to you, but I am afraid to touch it. It's a very big one. It's colorful though, orange color. So in this quote, he's telling that people get fixated on some things, and either they start fearing them or desiring them. The mind gets fixated on those things. But if we disregard them, if we don't put our energy and attention is energy. If we don't put our energy there, then we will not have fears and we will not have desires. It's the fixation of the mind on certain subjects that creates these attachments. Personally motivated action based on some scale of values aiming at some result is worse than inaction, for its fruits are always bitter. The fruits of personally motivated action are always bitter. because it's a selfish action. It's not coming from just response of the moment, but it's premeditated. It's you're just thinking about yourself and acting in a limited way rather than just responding in a right way. My actions surely I can control. Answer: try, you will soon see that you do what you must. And it's so true, because especially if you meditate, you try to stay totally still and do nothing, but then when the body needs something, it will do it like you wouldn't even think of it. Like you need to get up, wash your face, have a shower, and then go, and you just do that seamlessly. The body itself does it. And also when I died almost twice in my life, and both times water. It was almost both times I died because of something involving water. So the first time I nearly died, I was very small. I was a teenager. And then I was totally identified with the body. So when I was drowning, I thought I am dying. Yet, when the second time happened, it was in India, in the town of Rishikesh, in river Ganges. When I was drowning in that river, I got detached from the body, and the awareness was still trapped in my head, but the body itself was trying to survive. I didn't do anything. The body itself tried to survive, tried to get out of water, tried to keep itself afloat, whilst I was awareness inside my head, just watching everything, watching body frantically trying to survive, but I was not that. So the body itself does everything. And also when you are, if you try to consciously dream, and you just don't move and you're totally aware, you will see that it's not you, but the body does things naturally. Like if saliva is here, it will gulp it down, and it's not you. The body itself does everything, like it breathes. You're not focused on getting breath. The body naturally breathes. So the body does everything naturally on its own, but because we are identified with it, we think we are the doers. So detachment through yoga, that comes through yoga and meditation, helps you to understand that you are not the doer. The body will do everything it needs to do. To be free in the world, you must be free of the world. I love this. Oh, and also I always forget to say that Nisargadatta Maharaj called the Message of Enlightenment the good news. So maybe that was the good news of Jesus also, when he said the kingdom of heaven is within. And maybe Jesus had the same message, but it was distorted, because it's really the best news to understand that you are not this body, and you are not the body in the world. Everything is happening in you. You're just identified with this particular story. And this is so liberating for many people, because some people really suffer in life. Some people have a huge debt and they think this is their debt, but actually it's the debt of the body. Like if you're in some financial debt, it's the debt of the body, of the character in this dream, but not your debt. You are free of that. So I think that if people get this message, indeed it sounds like the best news in the world, because you understand the body's problems are not your own. So he says, to be free in the world, you must be free of the world. Otherwise, your past decides for you and your future. If you are not free, if you think yourself living in the world, the past will decide for you what your future will hold for you. Between what happened and what must happen, you are caught. Call it destiny or karma, but never freedom. First return to your true being and then act from the heart of love. also, like I think in a previous video, I quoted another paragraph from his book about being in the center of action and not at the periphery of the wheel. So you're just rooted in your being, not in the body, but in who you really are, and actions may take place, but you're not caught up in that because you're always rooted in your being. So this is similar. First return to your true being and then act from the heart of love. You identify yourself with your desires and become their slave. To desires, you identify yourself with your desires and become their slave. To me, desires are things among other things, mere clouds in the mental sky, and I do not feel compelled to act on them. Desires enslave people. It's true, we can see it all the time. People are spending their time to achieve something they mentally create in their minds. So they become the workers of those dreams, of those desires. The man who carries a parcel is anxious not to lose it. He is parcel conscious. The man who cherishes the feeling I am is self-conscious. The jnani holds on to nothing and cannot be said to be conscious. Jnani is how to translate this word, the wise one, I would say. And yet he is not unconscious. He is the very heart of awareness. We call him Digambara. I don't know if I pronounced that right. Which means closed in space. He is not conscious, not unconscious, yet he is the very heart of awareness. He is called closed in space, the naked one, beyond all appearance. There is no name and shape under which he may be said to exist, yet he is the only one that truly is. Reading these quotes of an Indian sage makes me miss India so much. Today I was walking, I walked through one Kashmiri shop. Here, some Kashmiri people have shops. And that smell of that shop took me back to India. It was that specific smell, kind of like incense. And I miss India, but it's not possible for me to go there. But these reading words of Nisargadatta Maharaj really helps me, because it helps me. These quotes help me to detach and just to know that everything is within me, but I still have the attachment for sure. Another quote. Attachment destroys courage. The giver is always ready to give. The taker is absent. Freedom means letting go. People just do not care to let go of everything. They do not know that the finite is the price of the infinite, as death is the price of immortality. Spiritual maturity lies in the readiness to let go of everything. The giving up is the first step. Because many people complain, they say, I really want enlightenment, yet they are not willing to let go of something in their lives, and therefore they can't get the ultimate if they are not ready to let go of something finite. The body is made of food, as the mind is made of thoughts. See them as they are. Non-identification, when natural and spontaneous, is liberation. You need not know what you are, enough to know what you are not. What you are, you will never know, for every discovery reveals new dimensions to conquer. The unknown has no limits. So if we understand that the mind, we are not the mind is just thoughts, and we can disidentify from that, then we can achieve liberation. You have invented words like effort, inner, outer, self, and soon, and seek to impose them on reality. Things just happen to be as they are, but we want to build them into a pattern laid down by the structure of our language. So strong is this habit that we tend to deny reality to what cannot be verbalized. My writing, sometimes I can't read. We just refuse to see that words are mere symbols related by conversation and habit to repeated experiences. As long as one is conscious, there will be pain and pleasure. You cannot fight pain and pleasure on the level of consciousness. To go beyond them, you must go beyond consciousness, which is possible only when you look at consciousness as something that happens to you and not in you. As something external, alien, superimposed. That reminds me of the words of Ramana Maharishi, who said that you cannot just, if you are still not liberated, you cannot go through beating of your body and say, I'm okay, nothing is happening to me, there is no pain, because you will feel pain, because you're still identified. So only when you are totally liberated, only then we can observe the body being beaten and not feel pain. So these people, they see the bodies they were once identified with as just part of the illusion, as just actors in this movie, but they don't even feel the pain of the body. How amazing is that? Because they have disidentified even from consciousness. They are the awareness. Once awareness, how I understand, once awareness attaches to the illusion, or like this body, it starts, then consciousness is born and it sees everything through the eyes of the body. But these people, they went beyond consciousness itself into the void from which everything springs. So even if something happens to their bodies, they just see it as an event. How amazing is that? Continuing the quote, then suddenly you are free of consciousness, really alone, with nothing to intrude. And that is your true state. Consciousness is an itching rash. Consciousness is an itching rash that makes you scratch. Of course, you cannot step out of consciousness, but if you learn to look at your consciousness as a sort of fever, personal and private, in which you are enclosed like a chick in its shell, out of this very attitude will come the crisis which will break the shell. So to see consciousness as something that happens to you, but that's not you, that we are conscious of everything, that is kind of bondage, the way that he explains. So when we see this, the fact that we are conscious as not us, then eventually we will be able to go beyond consciousness itself into the void, into the awareness from which everything springs. All suffering is caused by selfish isolation, by insularity, which is called, I had to look up, narrow-mindedness. So all suffering is caused by selfish isolation, by narrow-mindedness and greed. When the cause of suffering is seen and removed, suffering ceases. And selfishness can only be removed when we identify from, when we no longer identify with bodies. Otherwise, selfishness will have to remain. To To understand suffering, you must go beyond pain and pleasure. Your own desires and fears prevent you from understanding and helping yourself. You help everybody else. If you are serious about the suffering of mankind, you must perfect the only means of help you have, yourself. This was very frequently advised by Nisargadatta Maharaj. I think every time someone would complain about the world, about the sorrows of the world, he would point the finger at the person as the source of that sorrow. And the only way to help the world, as he said, is to go beyond the world. All happens as if there is a mysterious power that creates and moves everything. Realize that you are not the mover, only the observer, and you will be at peace, because then even if something happens to you, you will know this is just, you're an actor in the movie and the movie is going on. So you just let go of that and you just watch the movie of your life. And for me, this is very comforting, because it means that once the time is up, it's up. It's so responsibility is not there, so that means worry is not there. And also that if you are supposed to accomplish something in this life, you will not die before your time, you will still remain alive. So again, then the worry of survival finishes. So for me personally, I find this quote highly liberating. Question: you are giving a certain date to your realization. It means something did happen to you at that date. What happened? Answer: the mind ceased producing events. The ancient and ceaseless search stopped. I wanted nothing, expected nothing, accepted nothing as my own. There was no me left to strive for. Even the bare I am faded away. The other thing I noticed was that I lost all my habitual certainties. Earlier, I was so sure of so many things, like people who know the least will be the most convinced that they know something. Now I am sure of nothing, but I feel that I have lost nothing by not knowing. I feel that I have lost nothing by not knowing, because all my knowledge was false. In the immensity of consciousness, a light appears, a tiny point that moves rapidly and traces shapes, thoughts, and feelings, concepts and ideas, like the pen writing on paper. I love this quote. That's what happens even when we wake up. Straight away, the world appears. It's like consciousness creates everything. Once we're conscious, we will be in some kind of creation of the mind. And the ink that leaves a trace is memory. You are the tiny point, and by your movement, the world is ever recreated. Stop moving, and there will be no world. Look within, and you will find that the point of light is the reflection of the immensity of light in the body as the sense I am. There is only light, all else appears. And for some reason, this reminded me of another advice by Ramana Maharishi, who said that it requires effort at first to start the process of liberation because of many mental impressions. And just the, I forgot that word. Just because you kept moving and moving and moving in your life, now there is a charge and it needs to be depleted. So through meditation, we start depleting that charge. We start stopping our personal wheel of karma. So this is very difficult work because the mind really doesn't want to let go. So when we meditate, we will get so many thoughts. It will be torturous. Or another trap, as I mentioned in another video, is that you will start sinking in consciousness accessing different levels of dimensions, and that's very pleasurable because some dimensions, they have such amazing energy. So I called it ecstasy junkies trap because it is, and I was trapped in it for a long time, and it feels amazing, but it's like a drug. And again, it doesn't liberate you, and pure meditation is extremely difficult because you're just sitting totally conscious in total quietness, and you ignore all the visions that you can easily get lost in and find pleasure in, just happiness, and you ignore all these otherworldly things, and you try not to get attached to any thought. It's the hardest work in the world, and that's what Ramana Maharishi said. It's very, very difficult, but once you break that identification with the mind, then you can get liberated. So here, Nisargadatta Maharaj also advises to stop moving so that you no longer create things. And again, this can be accomplished through meditation, through watching the mind, and by not identifying with it, but just being conscious of it, so that consciousness cleanses it and you break out of it. So that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I really enjoy reading these beautiful words, and I know that many people are benefited by these words in these difficult times. I hope where you are, things are well. Keep strong. I hope that this inspired you, and have a lovely day. Take care.